All right, so Amazon and AI, right? Today we're going deep on Amazon's AI strategy. Specifically, we're going to be pulling from a recent interview with Matt Garman, CEO of Amazon Web Services. Get ready for some fascinating insights, folks. This goes way beyond the typical tech talk. We're getting into strategy, competition, and even a little peek into their workplace culture.
You know, what strikes me right away is just how different Amazon's approach has been compared to some of the other big players like Google or Microsoft. It's almost like they're being super cautious in a field that's just exploding right now.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's been crazy watching companies race to release the next big thing in generative AI. You know, those tools that can whip up text or images like it's nothing. But Amazon seems to be kind of holding back. Isn't that like a super risky move?
Well, it might seem that way on the surface, but they're hyper-focused on one thing, giving businesses the tools they need to use AI safely with their own data. Because let's be real, a data breach can be fatal for a company, especially when you bring AI into the mix. So Amazon is playing the long game here, building trust by making security and control their top priorities.
Makes sense because businesses are sitting on mountains of data these days.
hmm
But they're also terrified of it getting out there.
Yeah.
So how are they doing that? I mean, they're not exactly newbies to AI.
Yeah, totally. Just look at their SageMaker platform from AWS. It's already a go-to for building and using those machine learning models, which, as you know, are the foundation for a lot of AI. This just proves they're not behind, they're just on a different path.
So they've got the tools, the security's there. But how do they stack up against giants like Microsoft and Google? I mean, those guys are throwing billions into AI.
That's the thing. Amazon's betting there won't be one single AI that wins it all. They're envisioning a future where different AI models work together, kind of like a team. So instead of a one-size-fits-all solution, customers have choices.
Oh, I see. So it's less of a battle royale, more of a diverse AI ecosystem.
Exactly. And that ecosystem needs to be sustainable, right? Which brings us to another big piece of their strategy. They're really thinking about the real-world impact of all this computing power.
Yeah, for sure. Cloud computing, all those data centers, they eat up a ton of energy. So how's Amazon addressing that, especially with their sustainability goals?
Well, they're looking into some seriously innovative solutions. They've even mentioned exploring small modular nuclear reactors. As you can imagine, those are a lot smaller and potentially safer than the massive traditional nuclear plants.
Oh, nuclear reactors, that's a bold move. But I guess it makes sense. AI's environmental footprint is enormous. And didn't a lot of AWS data centers already run on renewable energy?
That's right, they're tackling sustainability on multiple fronts. It's not just about the tech itself, it's the whole system.
All right, so we've got big systems, big challenges. And speaking of challenges, AI regulation is a hot topic right now. Where does Amazon stand on that?
It seems they're open to working with regulators, but they're also cautious about anything that's too restrictive, anything that could stifle innovation. They've even mentioned the risk of falling behind countries like China if the U.S. gets too heavy-handed with regulations.
So it's that whole balancing act, right? Promoting progress, but making sure AI is developed responsibly. Okay, this might seem like a bit of a jump, but Amazon recently made headlines for requiring employees back to the office. How does that fit into their whole AI strategy?
Well, it all comes back to collaboration. Garmin really emphasized that even with all the advances in AI, in-person teamwork is still super vital for coming up with truly innovative ideas.
So even in this age of amazing tech, human connection is still key.
It seems that way, though of course there's been a lot of debate about this policy, especially in tech where remote work is so widespread.
Oh yeah, that whole work from home versus office debate, that's a can of worms for sure. But let's get back to AI in action. Can you give us some real-world examples of companies using Amazon's AI tools?
Absolutely. Duolingo, the language learning app, they use AWS AI to tailor lessons to each user. And then you have Formula One. They use it to give fans those real-time insights during races. So we're talking totally different industries using AI to level up.
It's pretty amazing how versatile their tools are. But it sounds like it's more than just individual tools, right? They're aiming for something bigger.
Yeah, they're building an entire interconnected AI ecosystem where everything works together seamlessly. So for businesses, it's easier to integrate AI into their existing systems without having to start from scratch.
So it's like a one-stop shop for all things AI, but customized for each company's needs.
You could say that. And it's not just about convenience either. This interconnectedness opens the door to some really powerful and sophisticated AI applications.
Okay, so give me an example. How does this work in practice?
Sure, take Pfizer, the pharmaceutical giant. They're using AWS AI to analyze huge data sets, to accelerate drug development.
Wow, so we're talking about AI potentially helping to create life-saving medications. That's huge.
It really is. And that's just one example. The possibilities are pretty much endless. And Amazon is putting themselves in a prime position to lead this AI revolution.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground today. So for everyone listening, what are the key takeaways about Amazon's approach to AI? It seems like they're playing the long game.
Definitely, it's not about chasing headlines or being the flashiest. It's about building a solid, secure foundation for AI that focuses on what customers actually need and ultimately makes a real difference in the world.
And they're doing it with a clear focus on sustainability and keeping the big picture in mind.
Absolutely. It's not just can we do this, it's should we do this and how can we do it right?
Which is refreshing in a field that often feels like it's moving at warp speed. But here's a question for you. In a world that's obsessed with the next big thing, could Amazon's slower, more deliberate approach to AI actually be the winning strategy? What do you think?
It's a fascinating question. You could say there's zigging while everyone else is zagging, but that's kind of been a hallmark of Amazon's success.
So true. They've always been about that long-term vision, even if it means not being the loudest voice in the room. Speaking of which, we were talking about how they're all about giving companies control over their data with AI. How does that actually work in the real world?
Okay, picture this. You're a company, you've got loads of super sensitive customer data, and you want to use AI to, step up your services. But obviously you're nervous about a data breach.
Who wouldn't be? Data security is everything these days.
Exactly. So what Amazon does is give you the tools to keep your data locked down tight, even when you're using their AI services. It's like having your own little secure AI playground.
So you get the power of AI without the risk of your data ending up on the front page.
Precisely. And this ties back into that whole idea of a comprehensive AI ecosystem we were talking about. They want to make it easy for companies to weave AI into their existing workflow securely and seamlessly.
So it's not just like, here's a bunch of AI tools, good luck. It's more of a hand-in-hand approach.
That's it. And it's worth noting that Amazon's also playing in the generative AI space. Those tools that create text, images, you know the drill. They recently launched a service called Bedrock. It basically gives businesses a managed environment to build their own generative AI applications.
Okay, for someone who's not fluent in tech, break that down for me.
Okay, imagine this. Even if you don't have a team of AI geniuses on staff, you can use Bedrock to create things like chatbots that can actually hold a conversation, generate personalized content for your customers, even produce realistic images and videos.
So it's like AI for the rest of us, making this cutting-edge tech more accessible.
Exactly. It's part of their vision of democratizing AI, making it a tool that everyone can use, not just the tech giants.
I like that. Now, we've been talking a lot about how businesses are using Amazon's AI. But what about everyday people? How's all this going to change our lives?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg right now, but we're already seeing AI being used in healthcare to diagnose diseases earlier, in education to personalize learning, and in finance to catch fraudsters.
So it's not just about making businesses more efficient. We're talking about potentially improving our health, education, our financial well-being.
That's right. And as AI keeps getting smarter, those impacts are only going to grow.
Okay, I got to ask. With all this talk about AI, are we on the verge of robots taking over? I've seen those movies. They don't usually end well.
Yeah, that's a pretty common fear. Science fiction loves to play with that idea. But you have to remember that at its core, AI is a tool. It's up to us, humans, to decide how we use it.
So we're not all destined to be slaves to our robot overlords.
Not necessarily, but we do have to be mindful of the potential downsides and make sure we're using it responsibly. That's why Amazon's focus on ethical AI development is so important.
Right. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about the human values guiding its use.
Exactly. And that's a conversation we all need to be part of. As a society, what kind of future do we want to build with AI?
Okay, so back to Amazon for a sec. They've made some bold moves lately, requiring employees back to the office, exploring nuclear energy. Are these decisions actually working out for them?
It's still early days. It's hard to say for sure. The return to office policy has definitely been controversial, but it shows just how much they believe in the power of face-to-face collaboration.
And their willingness to explore nuclear energy shows they're serious about tackling AI's energy demands in a sustainable way.
For sure, they're not afraid to think outside the box, to challenge the status quo, which is something we've seen throughout their history.
And speaking of history, Amazon's known for being ridiculously customer-focused. How does that philosophy play into their AI strategy?
Well, it all boils down to building AI that adds real value for their customers. They're not just building AI for the sake of it. It's about solving real problems and making people's lives easier.
So less about showing off fancy tech, more about truly understanding how people will use it and what benefits it will actually bring.
That's it. That customer-centric approach is in their DNA. It's woven into everything they do, from their AI services to their cloud infrastructure.
It's like they're always thinking a few steps ahead,
Yes.
anticipating what their customers need before they even know they need it.
You got it. And that's a huge part of what gives them an edge. They're always innovating and evolving to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Amazon's internal AI strategy, their focus on security, customer value, all that. But how do they fit into the larger global AI landscape? Who else are they up against?
That's a great question. They're definitely a major player, but there's some serious competition out there. Other tech giants like Microsoft and Google, they're all in the game.
So it's like a race to the top of the AI mountain.
You could say that. And each company has its own approach, its own playbook. Microsoft, for example, is all in on OpenAI and its ChatGPT technology, while Google is leveraging its massive search data and expertise in machine learning.
And Amazon's building its own empire, focused on security and empowering businesses.
Exactly, and it's too early to say who's going to come out on top. The AI world's constantly changing. New players and breakthroughs are popping up all the time.
Makes it a pretty exciting time to be following all this. It's like watching a tech revolution unfold right before our eyes.
It really is, and it's going to have a huge impact on all of us.
So let's zoom out for a second. We've covered a lot about Amazon's AI journey, their strategy, strengths, challenges, their place in the global AI landscape. If we had to sum it all up, what's the overarching narrative here?
I think it's a story of ambition and innovation, but also a deep commitment to creating value for their customers. They're not just building technology, they're building a future where AI is accessible, secure, and beneficial for everyone.
And they're doing it on their own terms, taking a more deliberate and measured approach than some of their rivals.
Right, they're not afraid to forge their own path, and that's what makes them so fascinating to watch.
All right, so we've been focusing on their internal AI strategy, but let's look at the bigger picture. How are they using their AI tools to tackle some of the bigger challenges facing humanity?
That's where things get really interesting. We're seeing their AI being used in so many fields: healthcare, education, climate change, even disaster relief.
Okay, can you give us some concrete examples? This is where it gets real.
Absolutely. In healthcare, they're working with organizations like the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center to develop AI tools that can detect cancer earlier.
Wow, so we're talking about potentially saving lives with AI. That's incredible.
It really is. And then in education, they're partnering with institutions like the University of Washington to personalize the learning experience, making it more effective for each student.
That's amazing, like custom-tailored education for everyone.
Exactly. And when it comes to climate change, they're using their AI and cloud computing power to analyze massive amounts of data to help build more accurate climate models.
So they're helping us understand and address one of the most pressing issues facing our planet.
They are, and they're also using AI to improve disaster response efforts, working with organizations like the Red Cross to deliver aid faster and more effectively.
It's truly inspiring to see a company like Amazon using its resources and expertise to make a real difference.
It is, and they're just getting started. As AI keeps evolving, we can expect even more innovative and impactful applications to emerge.
It's a reminder that technology, when used thoughtfully, can be a powerful force for good. But we also have to acknowledge that there are risks involved with AI. What are some of the concerns that people have raised?
You're right, AI is a powerful tool. And like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or bad. Some of the concerns that people have raised include job displacement, algorithmic bias, the potential for misuse by bad actors.
Those are serious issues. How is Amazon addressing these concerns?
Well, they're taking a multi-pronged approach, investing in research on AI safety and ethics, promoting transparency and accountability in AI development, and working with policymakers to create guidelines for responsible AI use.
So they're not just focused on building the tech, they're thinking about the ethical and societal impact as well.
Absolutely, they get it. AI isn't just a technical challenge, it's a human challenge, and they're committed to making sure it's used for good.
It's reassuring to see that they're taking these concerns seriously. But with all this talk about AI, it's easy to get lost in the technical details. So let's bring it back down to earth for a moment. How is AI already affecting everyday people's lives?
That's a great point. AI is already woven into our lives, even if we don't always realize it. Those personalized recommendations you get on your favorite streaming service, the facial recognition that unlocks your smartphone. AI is becoming more and more integrated into our daily routines.
So it's not just some far-off sci-fi fantasy. It's happening right now.
Exactly, and as AI gets even smarter, we can expect it to have an even bigger impact on the way we live, work, and interact with the world.
It's both exciting and a little mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. But one thing's for sure, AI is here to stay. And it's up to all of us to shape its development and make sure it benefits humanity as a whole.
Absolutely, you nailed it. It's not just about the technology, it's about the choices we make, the values we uphold. The future of AI is in our hands.
So we've covered a ton of ground today about Amazon's AI journey, their strategy, their strengths, the challenges they face, their place in the global AI landscape. But one question that keeps coming back to me is, what's the end game? What's the ultimate goal for Amazon in this AI race?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I think their ultimate goal is to become the essential platform for AI, the go-to provider for companies of all sizes who want to tap into the power of this revolutionary technology.
So it's not just about building cool tech, it's about building an AI empire.
In a way, yes, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think they genuinely see AI as a way to solve some of the world's biggest problems, to create a better future.
That's ambitious, to say the least. But it's a fiercely competitive landscape. How do they plan to stay ahead and maintain their lead in this race?
Well, that's where their relentless focus on innovation comes in. They're always experimenting, pushing the boundaries, exploring new frontiers in AI.
So it's not just about having the best tech today. It's about constantly evolving, adapting to the ever-changing world of AI.
Exactly, and that's something they've always excelled at. They're not afraid to disrupt themselves, to cannibalize their own products if it means staying ahead of the competition.
That's pretty remarkable. Yeah, it takes guts to constantly reinvent yourself like that.
It does, and it's a big reason why they've been so successful. They're never content with the status quo, always pushing to be better, to do more, to have a bigger impact.
That's inspiring, really. A reminder that even the biggest companies can still have that startup mentality.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that makes Amazon so fascinating. They're not just a company, they're a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, so we've explored their strengths, their vision. But let's be real, do they have any weaknesses? Are there areas where they might be vulnerable?
That's a good question. And while they have a lot going for them, one potential weakness that some point to is their focus on applying AI to practical problems, perhaps at the expense of pure cutting-edge research.
So maybe less emphasis on the what-if scenarios, the really futuristic stuff.
Right. They've been incredibly successful at making AI work for businesses today, but some argue that this could limit their ability to make those groundbreaking advances in fundamental AI research.
Interesting. So it's like playing it safe, focusing on what works now.
You could say that, and this approach might make them less appealing to those top AI researchers, the ones who are driven by making those cutting-edge discoveries.
So it's a trade-off, focus on the practical, but maybe miss out on some of the more radical breakthroughs.
Exactly. Only time will tell if that approach will help or hurt them in the long run.
That's a great point to consider. A reminder that even the most successful companies have their blind spots.
Absolutely. And it just highlights how dynamic this industry is. What works today might not work tomorrow. Companies have to be adaptable and willing to change to stay ahead. Companies have to be adaptable and willing to change to stay ahead.
Absolutely. Well said. We've reached the end of our deep dive into Amazon's AI strategy. It's been a fascinating journey, full of insights and thought-provoking moments.
It has, and I think the biggest takeaway for our listeners is that the AI revolution is happening now. And it's not just about technology, it's about all of us.
It's about understanding the power of AI, embracing its possibilities, and navigating its challenges, with wisdom and a commitment to our shared humanity.
Well said. The future of AI is in our hands. Let's make it a future worth creating.
That's a powerful thought, that we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI. But for someone who's not, like a tech wizard, where do you even start? It feels like such a massive, complex topic.
It can definitely feel overwhelming, for sure. But honestly, I think a good place to start is just learning the basics. You know, how AI works, what it can do, what it can't do.
So maybe like read a book on AI or take some online courses.
Exactly. There's a ton of resources out there. Some are really simple explanations. Others dive deep into the details. And don't be afraid to ask questions. The more you learn, the more confident you'll feel about joining the conversation about AI's future.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
Yeah.
But beyond just understanding the technical stuff, what else can we do to get ready for this AI-driven world?
I think it's crucial to really think critically about the ethical and societal implications, ask yourself those tough questions, like how is AI going to affect our jobs, our privacy, our relationships, even our understanding of what it means to be human?
Whoa, those are some deep questions. But I guess we can't really avoid them anymore, can we?
We can't, and there are no easy answers. But by having open and honest conversations about both the potential benefits and risks of AI, we can help make sure this technology is used for good.